Hello, geometry folks. Today we are going to talk a little bit more about circle equations. And what we learned is that a circle equation has like a certain standard form, but what do we do if it's not in that form? And that's what today is about. But today really devolves into a whole bunch of information about algebra. So we're going to take a blast from the past and go back to factoring in algebra. So Part A says express this as a trinomial, x minus 5 squared. So what you need to remember here is squaring something means you're multiplying it by itself. And if you multiply x minus 5 times x minus 5, you can do the box method to keep yourself organized. X minus 5 times x minus 5. X times x is x squared. X times negative 5 is negative 5x. Negative 5x and positive 5, negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. So this becomes x squared minus 10x plus 25. So x minus 5 squared becomes x squared minus 10x plus 25. Then over here it says factor the expression y squared plus 6x, that should have been a y, pardon me, plus 9. Well, if I want to factor that expression, since the lead coefficient is 1, we can say that if this is factorable, I'm going to start with a y and a y, and then I need two numbers that multiply to 9 and add to 6. Multiply to 9, add to 6. Oh, that's positive 3 and positive 3, which can also be written as y plus 3 squared. And what I want you to notice is this. Both of these ended up being a binomial squared, and I want you to look at what happened to the numbers. When I had x minus 5 squared, the last number in the expansion was positive 25, and the middle number was negative 10. Well, what do you need to see about that? Negative 5 squared is positive 25, and negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. This number in the middle is double the number in the parentheses, and this number at the end is the square of the number in parentheses. Let's see if the same thing holds true over here. Y squared plus 6x plus 9, y plus 3 squared. This number at the end is the square of the 3 in the parenthesis, and the number 6 is double the number 3. Okay, we're going to use that to our advantage when we do something called completing the square. Okay, so when we look at this equation down here, it says x squared plus 4x plus 4 plus y squared plus minus 6y plus 9 equals 36. That does not look like a circle right now. We are used to circles looking like x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. That doesn't look like that. But since the x is squared and the y is squared, this is going to be a circle. The x and the y have the same coefficient. They're both positive. They're both squared. This is a circle. But what's happened is, instead of leaving it in this nice factored standard form, somebody multiplied this stuff out. And it just looks yucky. This form is definitely better. So this lesson is all about what do you do when you have an expanded form for a circle and you want to condense it so that you can more easily see where's your center, where's your radius. That means I need to factor. So I'm going to box this in and box that in and say, what two numbers have a product of 4 and a sum of 4? Well, that'd be 2 and 2. So this is x plus 2, x plus 2. What two numbers have a product of positive 9 and a sum of negative 6? Well, 9 would be 3 and 3. But if they add negative 6, it'd be negative 3 and negative 3. Okay, so minus 3, y minus 3, and the 36 is going to stay. And then I realized those two parentheses are duplicates. So this is x plus 2 squared. That's y minus 3 squared. equals 36. Oh, finally. This looks more like what we're used to. Now I'm more convinced that this is a circle equation. So now I need to remember it. Once I get a circle equation, it's nice to know the center and the radius. So your center, you switch the signs. So x plus 2 means my center has a -2 for an x coordinate. Y minus 3 means that +3 is the y coordinate. And 36 is r squared. So my radius is the square root of 36, which is 6. Okay? So what that means is that this equation is exactly the same as this equation, just in a worse format. So we reformatted it so that it looked more like what we were used to. And then once we did that, we were able to identify a center and a radius. Okay, let's do it one more time. So if I come down here, I got my x's, I got my y's. So I need two numbers that multiply to +25 and add to -10. Well, 5 times 5, and if they were both negative, that would work. So x minus 5 and x minus 5. Now I need two numbers that multiply to 49 and add to 14, and that's going to be 7 and 7. So this is x minus 5 squared plus y plus 7 squared equals 4. Identify the center and the radius. So I'm going to take the opposite sign. X minus 5 means I have a +5 for my x coordinate, a -7 for my y coordinate, and the radius is the square root of 4, which is 2. Great. Now we're going to step it up a notch. Find the center and the radius of example 3. X squared minus 6x plus y squared equals 36. That's a lot smaller. When we did it on the front, I had 3 things with the x, I had a trinomial, and 3 things with the y, I had another trinomial. I don't have that anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to do something called completing the square. X squared minus 16x would normally have another number after it. So I'm just going to make one up and say, you know what? There should be another number here. So I'm going to put plus blank. Now, y squared is just all by its lonesome. There's not another y or anything like that. So y squared is already a squared, and it's not factorable. So I'm just going to leave it be. Equals 36. Now, I put a plus blank on the left, and if there's one rule about equations that you always have to follow, it's whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side to keep it balanced. So I put a blank on the left. I'm going to put a blank on the right. Now, completing the square is a process by which you add something to an expression so that you can factor it into a perfect square. And what you add has a rule to it. The number that you are going to add right here is this second number, okay, 16, divided by 2 squared. 16 divided by 2 is 8. 8 squared is 64. So I'm going to add 64. I added it to one side. I have to add it to the other to keep it balanced. Now that I've done that, I should be able to factor this. All right, what two numbers multiply to 64 and add to -16? Well, 64 is 8 times 8. If I make them both negative, they would add to -16. So x minus 8, y squared, just going to leave it as is. And then 36 plus 64 is 100. I don't know why I wrote an equals there. That one's supposed to be a plus. My apologies. And so this becomes x minus 8 squared plus y squared equals 100. And that's more familiar. Now I know my center is +8, 0, and my radius is the square root of 100, which is 10. Okay, and if you're thinking, wait, Ms. Verb, what did you fill in the blank again? The thing that you fill in the blank is this second number here. You cut it in half and square it, and that's what goes in the blank. Why? Why is it that? Because you cut it in half is a nod to this number, and then you square it because when we multiplied this out earlier, that was the square. Remember the whole thing about double square? That's where the rule comes from. Okay. But at the end of the day, just make sure you've got that rule memorized. All right. So let's do another one so you can see it happen again. On this one, we're going to complete the square twice to determine the center and the radius. I have an x squared plus 4x, but that's supposed to have another number. And I have a y squared minus 12y, but that's supposed to have a third number. So we're going to write this as x squared plus 4x plus blank plus y squared minus 12y plus blank equals 41 plus blank plus blank. I added 2 blanks on the left. I got to add 2 blanks on the right. Okay, fill in the blank time. You take this second number, cut it in half, and square it. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4. Perfect. I take this second number, halve it, and square it. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 6 squared is 36. Okay? Take the second number divided by 2, and then square it. But whatever you put in the blanks on the left, you got to put them on the right to keep the equation balanced. And so I shall. Once you've done that, you are going to factor. X squared plus 4x plus 4. What two numbers multiply to 4 and add to 4? Well, that's 2 and 2. What two numbers multiply to 36 and add to negative 12? That's going to be minus 6 and minus 6. And then 41 plus 4 plus 36 is 81. So I have 2x plus 2's and 2y minus 6's. And look at that. Now I know my center is negative 2, 6, and my radius is the square root of 81, which is 9. Okay. And then one last one, and I am done, and you will have to do some practice on your own. Complete the square twice to determine the center and the radius. Okay, folks, one last time. X squared has another x. It needs a third thing. Y squared has another y. It needs a third thing. And then I have this 8 over here. Now, what do? Same thing I've been doing. When we complete the square, if I added blanks on the left, I need to add blanks on the right. And what goes in the blanks? The second number divided by 2 squared. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. The second number divided by 2 squared. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 squared is 16. So I add a 1 and a 16. What two numbers multiply to 1 and add to 2? 1 and 1, of course. What two numbers multiply to 16 and add to negative 8? 16 negative, 16's 4 and 4. So negative 4 and negative 4, okay. And 8 plus 1 plus 16 is 25. I have 2x plus 1's, 2y minus 4's. And so my center is negative 1, positive 4, and my radius is the square root of 25, which is 5. Now, one thing that did not come up in the notes, but you do need to know for the homework, is if we come over here, and we're going to do a couple of these, like on part B here. One thing you're going to notice on part B, this is on the next page, part B, is this is organized in a really funky way. So before you complete the square, you want to group the x's, group the y's, and get the number by itself on the other side. So what I would do here is I would add this 15 to the other side. So it's set equal to 15. And then when I go to rewrite the left, I'm going to put the x's together, and then I'm going to put the y's together. Okay. So sometimes your equation isn't grouped like they were in the notes, and that's on me. I should have put an example like this in the notes. So I'm telling you now, when you do completing the square, before you get to that point, make sure you get your constant on the right hand side and that you group your x's and your y's together. Then you do the step of completing the square. Okay? All right, so there are your notes on circles and completing the square. Everybody have a glorious, glorious day.